What's up and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be the year in review for 2021 tag. First of all, I want to go ahead and shout out to Anita. Thank you so much for tagging me in this video, and I hope I don't let you down too much because I feel like I'm going to be really bad at coloring within the lines of the prompts. Hopefully that's okay and you don't mind too much. The first question is, what is your favorite book of the year? And this is probably going to have to be The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. This was such a good book. It's so beautifully written and she deals with so many interesting themes, both the nuances of them, but also being multifaceted, looking at them from different angles. In this book, there's a lot of different characters and they're all dealing with different things happening in their lives, but the storylines kind of tie together. They're all exploring the same theme, so it feels very cohesive. We're looking at trauma and relationships and violence, but also wealth and race and power and how those things kind of come together. It's honestly astounding that this is a debut novel because I thought she did an incredible job and this was just a really great book to read. The second question is, what is your favorite series that you started this year but didn't finish? Mostly, I'm reading the books that I want to be reading and being able to finish those series and check them off. If I haven't finished the series, that probably means it's not really one that I liked. So for this question, I'm going to go with a series that I'm caught up with but haven't finished because all of the books for it haven't come out yet. The Atlas 6 is really just a fun book that has so many of the things that I'm looking for. It's got dark academia, it's got magical items, it's got magical plants, and I really like the way that they look at magic itself as more of a science. It's not something that's complete. We don't know everything there is to know about it. It's not a finite source. You can grow the knowledge base. You can have magic that builds off of other magic that's come before it and explore new and interesting ideas. And I really love all of the magic systems and how they work in this. I also love every time that we get to see the plants speak, and I always get this line stuck in my head and end up quoting it out loud, just ha ha ha, mother wins, we win. Also, I didn't realize until like a week ago when I rewatched the film, but I'm pretty sure that most of how I imagined the library is based on that made-for-TV movie from TNT from like the early 2000s, The Librarian. So it's got a little bit of a cheesy vibe to it, but it's just so interesting. I think that all of the characters, their machinations, and the plots that are going on are really interesting. Some of the interpersonal drama isn't really my vibe. When I first picked this up, I only got like 6 or 16 pages in. It was definitely not even the full first chapter, and I had to DNF it at least for like a month or two. I came back, didn't reread the bit I didn't like, and just kept going. It was great. Turned out to be one of my favorite books of the year. But that first little bit just, it's a little too CW for me. Wasn't really gripping. If you can make it past that though. Very liked this one. Question number 3 is your favorite series that you finished this year. I can't really pick just one. And I know you're saying, Jess, just pick one. And I'm gonna say,
I could no sooner choose a favorite star in the heavens.
Because I loved all 3 of these series in different ways. The first one is going to be the Winnowing Flame trilogy, and that I loved for the world building. There's something about it that just grips me, and even when I was reading other books in between, I was fantasizing about that world still. I love all the horror elements and the high fantasy. I love the creatures and the plants and the geography of it. I gotta admit, the characters do kind of bother me a little bit. They make a lot of choices that I'm just like, why would you do that? Don't do that. That's a bad decision. But the world building in this just really, really draws me in, and I wish that there was more of it so that I could go back. The second series I'm going to mention is Mistborn Era 1, and this has got to be the finest example of setup and payoff that I've ever seen. Brandon Sanderson is masterful with his craft. He has so many things planned out already. I can't wait to go back and pick up on even more details that I missed the first time around, because everything is linked and everything is built up so that you have something later on and it all comes together as a cohesive whole. Even the magic systems are so intricately intertwined, and it was so fantastic to read. And the third series is one that I love for the characters, and that's the Greenbone Saga. I'm not a hugely character-driven reader. I mostly really like plots, and that's what I connect to and remember the most. But For this series, Fonda Lee did such a divine job just creating these characters. There was a moment after I had finished the first book, and it was a couple days later, I was kind of in a sleepy haze, and I remember distinctly thinking that I needed to text one of them and be able to catch up, and I was just so confused when I woke up and remembered, oh yeah, they don't exist, because she made them feel so real and alive. Also, her word economy is phenomenal. Like, everything that she writes belongs there. There's never a moment where I really felt like she was stretching it and just having a lot of filler. Everything felt intentional and like it belonged. Question number 4 is, who is your favorite new author that you discovered this year? I'm so bad at these prompts already. It's just deteriorating. I don't know what's happening. But I have 2 authors for this. The first I discovered in 2020 and they became a favorite in 2021. And the second I discovered in 2021 and they became a favorite in 2022 because I just completed one of their series in January. So by their powers combined, they answer this question appropriately. The first is Shawna Mcguire. I read her Every Heart a Doorway in 2020, and then I read like 9 books from her in 2021. She has a fantastic range. She's so inclusive, and just, I love her storytelling. I love the type of worlds that she invents, the characters, the plots, everything that's going on, and her writing style is just so good for me and what I'm looking for. The other author is N.K. Jemisin, and in 2021, I actually checked out a book like this thick from the library, and her story that was in it was not even 20 pages. I think it was a short story called Emergency Skin, but it was so excellent, and I don't know how she accomplished everything that she did, but it had world building, it had characters, it had plot, it had social and political commentary, and it had a satisfying ending. And I just think she has, again, a lot of really inclusive work and a very unique voice and writing style, especially within the sci-fi genre. I can't wait to read more from her. Question 5 is, who was your favorite character of the year? And I know a second ago that I said I'm not really a character-driven reader, but I actually have a couple here. So one, I love Sigrid from the Divine Cities trilogy, and every scene that he's in, he just steals a show. In fact, there's a whole scene of his in the first book, The City of Stairs, and that's probably the best scene in the book. I love it so much. I want Sigrid to show up in everything, really. Even if it's a franchise he totally doesn't belong in, I think that'd be super fun, and I'm totally down for it. The second character is Gerda from The Raven and the Reindeer, and I don't think there's ever been another time where I kept looking up from a book to just say, I relate to Gerda. There's so many moments that I find fully relatable. She's very socially anxious, but determined to get things done, but also overthinking and analyzing things all the time, and I just really connected with that. I thought that she was adorable and I loved following her story. And then the third character is Bogdan from the Thursday Murder Club series. He's this big, brutish kind of thug of a guy. Pretty sure he has tattoos. He's a Polish immigrant living in England and not necessarily doing like fully on the up and up work, but you call him in the middle of the night, 4 a.m., and you have a job for him to do, he's no questions asked, got your back. And he meets up every single week, doesn't ever miss it, never late, to play chess with an old man who has Alzheimer's, and he's so precious and loyal, and I wish I had a Bogdan in my life. Question 6 is, what is your favorite new release of the year? And I'm kind of gonna cheat with this one also. I know, I'm really bad at answering these questions, but it's my channel and there's nobody here to tell me otherwise, so I'm not gonna conform to your rules.
It's more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
I don't really want to repeat books on this list, and I kind of already have a series that I've been doing where I review all of the 2021 new releases that I read last year, and because that was my personal challenge, I wanted to read as many 2021 new releases as I could. I read over 100, and rather than repeat all of those titles that I've already gone over, if you really want to know what my thoughts are, I have it organized by genre, so you can just skip to the end of that video and see what my #1 book was in any genre you're interested in. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and talk about another book that's a little bit lower down on my list, but I think went under the radar, and that's The Memory Theater. I believe the author is Scandinavian. I'm not 100% sure if this is a translated work or not, but I just thought it was so interesting and captivating. If you're somebody who likes portal fantasies and dark fairy tales, you would really be interested in picking this one up. This is the book that made me realize just how much I've become accustomed to a standardized Western storytelling method, like a 3-act structure and all of that, kind of standard fare. This doesn't follow that at all. I found it so refreshing. It doesn't fall into all of the standard tropes you would expect. It doesn't even have the standard pacing that you would expect. And I found that all of the little surprises along the way, things I wasn't necessarily anticipating, were just delightful. I really liked all the narrative choices that they made. I also think the antagonist is very well done. She's kind of like a mix from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the witch from that, but when you meet her in The Magician's Nephew, where she's got that very cruel intelligence and feeling very above everybody else, but also combined a little bit with the Queen from Alice in Wonderland. She really likes her garden tea parties and off with their heads. So I found her very compelling and well done, but also just how everything played out. It was a really, really good tale, and I haven't heard anybody else talking about it. Question number 7 is, what is your favorite reread of the year? As much as I would love to say Gideon the Ninth, because I really did enjoy that. I was laughing and so happy to be back in this world, visualizing everything again. I think I actually have to give it to A Deadly Education, and the main reason is that the first time I read this, as soon as I finished, I ranted about it for like an hour. And at the end of the hour, I realized, okay, maybe I do love some things here. But I had so many complaints about how exposition heavy it was and the characters, and when I reread it, I didn't have those complaints anymore. There was still one joke in it that's really not my sense of humor, and it didn't land a second time as well. But everything else, I totally forgot what my complaints were the first time. I was just smiling from start to finish, tabbing it up. I really liked it. I know this book isn't for everyone, especially because the first time I finished it, like I said, I ranted about it. I can totally see what people don't jive with, but it's got so many things that I really, really like. Question number 8 is, what is your biggest surprise of the year? And if we're talking about moment, it's definitely gotta be Jade City. I didn't see that coming at all. But if we're talking about a whole book, then Revelator. I totally didn't know what to expect with this. I knew that there was a family with their own personal religion. They had a god hole under their church, and in the god hole lived their god that they named Ghost Daddy. I didn't know what to expect other than that. It was just such a good haunting horror. It had a lot of interesting and nuanced things to say, looking at patriarchy and religion, and also just some unsettling, creepy moments. There were really good visuals, it was very atmospheric, and I was very surprised by how much I loved this book. Question number 9 is, what was your biggest disappointment of the year? I feel really bad saying this book because it's not one of my worst books of the year, but it was, if not the number one, definitely top 3 of books that I was most anticipating. I really thought this was going to be an all-time favorite 5-star read for me. Actually, all of the books on that list, I was wrong. Apparently, I'm very bad at knowing my own taste. But I was very excited for the necromancy, and that's the Bone Maker. So I thought I was really gonna love this, and for the first 100 pages, I was fully right. I was adoring this book, I was smiling, I was quoting it aloud, and then it did something I really don't like to see in books. I don't like when characters make really dumb choices, especially if those choices are repetitious. They've already made a very similar decision in the past, and it went poorly. And then they do something almost exactly the same, expecting a different outcome. I just want them to learn from their decisions, and it's not even like the conflict that happened was interesting to read about. So I really wish the author had gone in a different direction, but it is what it is. So I really love the beginning and the setup, but once they get to the city, I don't like anything else that happens in the book. And the last question on this list is, what is the book from this year that you'd recommend to anyone? Okay, so like, I read too many books, you guys. I can't pick just one, so I have 3, and I think that that's a really reasonably sized list. The first is going to be for non-sci-fi and fantasy readers, and that's the Thursday Murder Club series, which I guess isn't technically a book, it's a series, but like, just roll with it. And I know that humor is subjective, and that for me, the major selling point of the series is humor, but I think there's a little something there for everyone, especially with the mystery elements. Mystery is a hugely popular category. I don't think we'd have as many police dramas as we do if people weren't really into that. So it's got the mystery elements, it's got the found family, it's got a great sense of humor, and just a very general appeal. It doesn't have any kind of niche knowledge that you need to get into it. So that's my non-sci-fi and fantasy pick. My second choice is for sci-fi and fantasy, and that's the Murderbot Diaries, which again, yeah, it's a series, not a single book, but I think just the first one is also really good. These are like fun, action-filled romps, almost like the beginning of a James Bond movie where it has just a fun action sequence to get you in the mood. And yeah, the humor is subjective again, but I really love Murderbot, and I think a lot of people love this little socially anxious robot. In fact, I actually bought the first book for my father-in-law for Christmas, and he loved it so much that he went out and bought the rest of the series and read them all super fast, even though he's not a big reader. So I really think that Murderbot has mass appeal, and that would be my sci-fi fantasy pick. And my third choice is purely selfish. I want more people to read Revelator because it's only available in hardback right now with deckled edges. And I hate deckled edges, especially because I have cats and cat hair builds up on it so fast it's just miserable to use. But I think that this book went under the radar and not enough people read it for it to actually get a paperback print run. So I need you all to go and read Revelator and make sure that there's a paperback print run so that I can buy that copy of the book. So that's the end of my 2021 Year in Review book tag. Shout out again, thanks to Anita for tagging me in this. I'll have her channel linked below. And now I guess it's time to tag some other people. So I am going to tag both Kates, Kate Coy and Kate from the Almost Book Doctor. I would love to see what your year in review is. I think that this was really fun to come up with, and maybe you guys will be better and sticking to the prompts only offering one book for each question, or maybe not. And then I just get to hear you talk about more books that you love, and that's a fun time too. So thanks everyone for watching. I will see you next time. Bye!
Oh, hi.